Plain oatmeal can raise your blood sugar, even when you add absolutely no sugar to it. And no, I am not talking about flavored packets, brown sugar, honey, bananas, or raisins. I mean plain, unsweetened oatmeal, the kind millions of people eat because they are trying to do the right thing for their heart and their blood sugar. And after 60, when blood sugar and muscle become harder to manage at the same time, the way that bowl is built matters even more. If you have ever chosen oatmeal, then looked at your glucose meter and thought, how did that happen? You're not imagining it. When I started looking at the research behind the health claims, one question kept coming up. Compared to what? This is not about giving up oatmeal. It is about seeing 5 common mistakes that can completely change the breakfast. And the last one has almost nothing to do with the oatmeal itself. Here is why this is so easy to miss. Nobody looks at a donut and thinks, that should keep my blood sugar steady. Nobody sees pancakes covered in syrup and calls them a glucose-friendly breakfast. But oatmeal looks safe. It looks simple and traditional. It says whole grain. Sometimes there is even a little heart on the box. That health claim can give the entire bowl a free pass. And when the number on the meter is higher than expected, people blame their age, their metabolism, or the fruit on top. They rarely question how the breakfast was built. Now, this is not a reason to panic or throw every bag of oats out of your kitchen. It is a reason to look more closely at what the word oatmeal is hiding. The first mistake is hearing that oatmeal is better for blood sugar and remembering something much stronger. Oatmeal does not raise blood sugar. Those are not the same statement. When a study reports a lower glucose response, ask what the oatmeal was compared with. Sometimes the comparison is white bread or another highly refined food. If white bread creates a large spike and oatmeal creates a smaller one, researchers can accurately report an improvement. That is useful information. But a smaller spike is not the same as no spike. And that difference matters, especially when you are choosing the same breakfast every morning. This is also where the heart-healthy message can get stretched too far. Oats contain soluble fiber, especially beta-glucan, which has been studied for cholesterol and post-meal glucose, but a real benefit in one area does not make the entire breakfast a free food. The amount matters, the form of the oats matters, and the rest of the meal matters. So when you hear, oatmeal is good for blood sugar, ask 3 simple questions. Which oatmeal? How much? And compared with what? That one habit will protect you from a lot of confusing health headlines. Mistake number 2 is buying by the word oatmeal instead of looking at the form of the food. Steel-cut oats, old-fashioned oats, quick oats, instant oats, and processed oat cereals may all start with the same grain, but they do not reach your bowl in the same condition. Here's the easiest way to think about it. The more work the factory has already done, the less work your digestion may have left to do. Cutting, flattening, pre-cooking, and drying can make oats ready in 60 seconds. The ingredient list may still say oats. The front may still say whole grain, but your body may handle it very differently from a thick, chewy oat. That takes 20 minutes to cook. Controlled studies have found that less processed steel-cut oats can produce a lower glucose response than instant oatmeal, and some highly processed oat cereals. Larger reviews point in the same direction. More intact kernels and thicker flakes tend to behave differently from thin, quick, or instant oats. That does not make instant oatmeal poison. It means the word oatmeal is not enough information. If one product cooks in a minute and another stays thick and chewy, do not assume your body sees them as the same breakfast. The little heart symbol on the box does not tell you that. Mistake number 3 is simple. The bowl is choosing the portion. Have you ever measured a dry serving of oats and poured it into a large breakfast bowl? It can look almost ridiculous. There is a thin layer at the bottom and a lot of empty space around it. So you pour in a little more, then a little more, until it finally looks like breakfast. But the bowl is not a measuring cup. As the serving gets larger, the carbohydrate gets larger too. Controlled studies have found that the glucose response tends to rise with the portion. Nobody accidentally eats 4 donuts and says, "I thought that was 1 serving." But people double oatmeal all the time because it still looks warm and wholesome. Do not eyeball it. Measure the oats dry while you are learning what a normal serving actually looks like, and check whether the label describes dry oats or cooked oatmeal. That detail can change the amount more than most people realize. Now, stop for a second. We still have not talked about sugar on top. The first 3 mistakes can happen with completely plain oatmeal. The health claim can create the wrong expectation. The processing can change how quickly the food is broken down, and the portion can quietly double. Then comes the mistake. That makes a healthy-looking bowl almost impossible to judge. Mistake number 4 is not 1 spoonful of sugar. It is stacking several healthy-looking sources of sweetness and forgetting that they all end up in the same meal. A spoonful of honey, a large banana, a handful of raisins, sweetened almond milk, maybe flavored yogurt on the side. Each one sounds reasonable by itself. That is exactly why it adds up so fast. Your body does not place honey in one category called natural, raisins in another category called fruit, and sweetened milk in a third category called healthy. It sees the total meal. Fruit is not bad. Honey is not poison. And you do not need to make oatmeal taste like wet cardboard, but natural sugar still counts. Dried fruit is concentrated, and several small additions can turn a simple breakfast into a very sweet bowl. So pick 1 main source of sweetness instead of 4. A modest serving of berries can work well for many people. Then use cinnamon, vanilla, or unsweetened cocoa for flavor. The goal is not to make breakfast miserable. The goal is to stop building dessert, 1 healthy topping at a time. Now we get to mistake number 5, and this is the one most people miss, because it is not really about what is in the bowl. It is about what is missing beside it. Oats contain some protein and fiber, but a breakfast made mostly from oats and fruit may still be mostly carbohydrate. And after 60, breakfast is not only about managing blood sugar, it also needs to help protect your muscle, your energy, and your independence. So oatmeal does not always have to be breakfast. It can be part of breakfast. That may mean eggs, plain Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or another protein that works for you. Research suggests that adding protein to a carbohydrate meal can change the post-meal glucose and insulin response. For some people, eating the protein portion first may also make a difference, but do not turn that into another miracle rule. The type of protein matters. The amount matters. Your medications matter. And your own response matters. The practical point is much simpler. Do not expect 1 bowl of oats to do every job. Build a breakfast, not just a bowl. And if you eat oatmeal at 7 and feel hungry again by 9:30, this may be the part you have been missing. So, what should you do tomorrow morning? Use this 5-point check. First, do not assume a heart health claim predicts your personal glucose response. Second, look at the form of the oats. Steel-cut and old-fashioned oats usually keep more structure than quick or instant products. Third, measure the dry portion. Do not let the empty space in the bowl decide how much you eat. Fourth, count every source of sweetness together. Honey, dried fruit, sweetened milk, and a large banana all belong to the same breakfast. And fifth, add a clear protein anchor. You do not have to create a perfect bowl. You are simply trying to find out whether the breakfast you are eating matches the reason you chose it. And that is something a marketing claim cannot answer for you. The best way to answer this is not to argue with a box. It is to pay attention to your own breakfast. And please, do not change everything at once. If you change the oats, the portion, the toppings, and the protein on the same morning, you will have no idea what made the difference. To keep this simple, I put together a free 7-day breakfast tracker. The link is in the description below. Use it to record the type of oats, the dry portion, the toppings, the protein, and how you feel afterward. If you already monitor glucose, record your readings only at the times your healthcare team has recommended. On day 1, change nothing. Write down the breakfast you normally eat. For the next 2 mornings, keep the portion and toppings the same, but try a less processed oat. For the following 2 mornings, keep the oats the same and simplify the toppings. For the final 2 mornings, keep the bowl consistent and add a clear protein anchor. Also, write down how hungry you feel about 2 hours later. Are you already looking for a snack? Does your energy feel steady? Or do you feel tired and hungry again very quickly? Nobody wants breakfast to feel like a science experiment. The tracker is simply there to help you notice patterns instead of relying on memory. A quick safety note: this 7-day comparison will not diagnose diabetes, and it will not transform your A1C. If you use insulin or medication that can cause low blood sugar, do not make major changes to your carbohydrate intake without speaking with your healthcare professional. Do not stop medication because of a food video, and do not make a major decision based on one unusual reading. The big idea is this: oatmeal is not one breakfast. It is one ingredient that can become several very different breakfasts. The label may stay the same, while the processing, the portion, the toppings, and the rest of the meal change everything. So tomorrow morning, do not ask only, "Is oatmeal healthy?" Ask, "Which oatmeal am I eating? How much am I eating? And what did I build around it?" Tell me in the comments. Do you eat instant oats, old-fashioned oats, steel-cut oats, or do you avoid oatmeal altogether? Because that answer may tell us much more than the word oatmeal on the package. And oatmeal is not the only healthy-looking breakfast that can hide a very different meal. We will examine another one in the next video.